All right, Matt Rudmore here, and I'm back with my first Big Brother video of the BB25 preseason. We're officially in the preseason now because, we've actually got information on the house. We've got some news on some of the first twists and what it's going to be like. A little bit, of course, we don't know too much. But before I get into any of that, I wanted to do something I've been wanting to do pretty much since BB24 ended. I want to react to um my cast reveal video. Like I did a stream like like the day the cast dropped, I did a stream that night. I just spent a few hours looking at stuff, getting all the information I could on the house guests. And I did a stream talking about, my first impressions. And I vaguely recall being right about a couple of people. And I vaguely recall being wildly wrong as well. So I think this video could be interesting. Now, I'm only using Twitch Studio, and the lag is not too great. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to stream the actual video itself. I will upload this to YouTube, this stream, and I'll put a link to that video in the description. So for this, we're just going to have the audio. But you know what? That's fine because you probably don't need to see two of me. And also, that video, it's over an hour long. So what I did was I just kind of skipped through the first 10 minutes or so, which was just like talking about like Julia interviews and stuff about the house and the game and whatnot. I just skipped ahead directly to the cast, like where I'm talking about the cast themselves. And also, I am going to play the video at 1.25 speed to speed things up a little more. So, I might sound like I'm talking a little fast, and it might sound a little unnatural, but it's not too bad. Definitely not going any higher than 1.25, though. Now, I got right up to the point of the video where I start talking about the cast, so let's just get to it. And I will pause between people to come back and check this for any comments in the chat. And I will pause if there's anything that I was wildly wrong about or that I called correctly in an insane manner. But yes, let's just get to it.
Let's get into the contestants now. There are probably a lot of things I could say about certain people, but I'm going to try and get through them as quick as I can. So, I'm going to go alphabetical. First up, we have Alyssa, who is from the same hometown as last year's Alyssa. That was certainly an unusual thing to hear. So, according to her interview, she says that she doesn't want to work with loud or obnoxious players because they rock the boat too much. And she says she would vote with the house because going against it, anyone who goes against the house always tends to get caught. That sounds pretty boring to me. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm not impressed at all by Alyssa's interview. I don't think she seems like a particularly interesting person, but I feel like she might be able to squeeze into an alliance, and I think they might carry her for a while.
Okay, now I gotta pause. Was I right or was I right? I said Alyssa would be boring, but would be carried for a while by alliances. That's exactly what happened. Also, loud, obnoxious people rock the boat. She was close with Jasmine and Smelvis.
But yeah, I don't really see much from her. And like she says, she doesn't want to work with people who rock the boat. Like people who rock the boat are the most interesting. You know? Like no, we want people who rock the boat.
There's a right and wrong.
We're kind of starving for it. I mean, last season, I was not bored by last season, but I didn't love it for how dramatic it was. I loved it because it was a group with a mission and a darn good strategy, and I found that fascinating to watch. I was entertained by their level of gameplay, but yeah, last season was kind of lacking on drama, and Alyssa just seems to be totally averse. This Alyssa seems to be totally averse to drama. Although, come to think of it, Alyssa from last year didn't seem all that dramatic either. I never really saw her get into any big arguments with anybody.
Yeah, she
But
really
yeah, this
didn't.
Alyssa, not feeling it.
Yeah, she
Just
went
not feeling it.
further than BB23 Alyssa.
Next up, we have Amira.
I said her
Now, she
favorite.
says that she doesn't want to work with two timers. She talks about being authentic and straightforward a lot in her interview. Like, she mentions that repeatedly, and she says that she would vote like for her own game if it was going against the house. The house, sorry, can't talk all of a sudden. But she would do it only if she felt it made a difference. I think that's what she said.
Man, I stand her
Yeah,
too much.
she said. I mean, this was a fairly good point. Even if it's helping my game, is it really helping my game long term? That is a fair point. But I'm kind of hung up on the two timers thing. She's listen, it's Big Brother. Everyone's two timing each other. The whole game is strategy and manipulation. So, you know,
Yeah.
you kind of have to be mindful of that. Like, everyone's out for themselves. Everyone wants $750,000. Like, I'm sure she wants $750,000, but she's got to work for it, and she's got to know that other people are going to be going for it pretty hard. And I don't know. I'm a little concerned that her being so anti two timers in the Big Brother house, like, depending on how she responds when she realizes someone is two timing, I don't know. I feel like this might have the potential to set her up for a not great social game, but I don't know. I'm not really sure how I feel about her, to be honest. It's just a lot of people are looking forward to her, and I'm just kind of, I don't know. She's a 5 out of 10 on my interest scale at best. That's not the lowest. I promise you that. I mean, it's higher than Alyssa. Alyssa's maybe a 3, if that. But yeah, Amira just kind of, I don't know. So far, she's not really capturing my interest, but that could change.
Okay. I don't know exactly when I move on to the next person. I'm just gonna pause there. So I was right that Amira didn't have a good social game, but I was right for the wrong reasons. She actually tried to do too much, and she got caught. But I mean, she did like she had solid relationships with certain people like Alyssa and Jasmine, Mindy, Nicole. But yeah, I was right to not get my hopes up too high for her, considering, week three eviction.
That's another thing. What I'm doing right here, this is me reading interviews and looking at pictures and just sensing vibes. Okay, this is all speculation. This means nothing right now. I mean, please watch, please do, because it could be fun. Like, if I'm really wrong and then I rewatch this in a couple months, I'll just laugh at myself, and that might be fun. But for now, let's just go with this and let's see what happens.
Mm, okay, so I actually said I wanted. I know I said earlier I wanted to do this. Hello, Game Night 06. Thank you for being here for a stream you're probably not going to understand at all. I said earlier that I wanted to do this from the end of last season. No, I was wrong. I wanted to do it before it even started. I love it.
Oh, and another thing I wrote down. She kept saying, "I'm authentic. I'm straightforward." What it was kind of reminding me of. Now, I don't mean to imply that I think she's going to be as problematic as this person was, but it is reminding me a little of Nick from BB21, who mentioned what a nice guy he was in all of his interviews beforehand. Like, he was trying to say all the right things, and he was like, I don't remember why he brought it up, but he mentioned something about
Watching
Flint,
other
Michigan still not
videos
having water in his
of myself.
pregame interview. And I'm like, oh, okay, this guy might be a nice guy, but then in the game, he was just kind of a jerk. In fact, he was a lot of a jerk. Only in that season, though, would he only be like the fourth or fifth worst of the cast. But yeah, just seeing her repeat herself like that, it reminded me of Nick and like how hard he tried to tell us what he was. He just show don't
Show
tell.
don't
You
tell.
know, Nick only
But then
told,
at the
he
same
didn't
time,
show. Amara's telling us maybe she'll show it. I'll give her a chance. Obviously, again, I'm giving everybody a chance.
she didn't show.
But
She didn't
you got to
show
prove it.
at all.
So yeah, those are my thoughts on Amira. I said more about her than I thought, considering she's the one I've probably thought about the least. Up next, Brittany. Now, she mentioned that she wrote a 40-page notebook of potential Big Brother strategies. But she says it's best to be adaptable. She plans to say that she's a toy tester to try and be underestimated. She's actually a hypnotherapist, which, is not a job you just get. You have to go to school for a long time to get that kind of job. She says that she wants to target the strong and smart ones, like people who are strong and smart together, like both at the same time. That's what she wants to target. And I'm
I
like,
guess she aligned with the
okay,
strongest and the smartest person.
you're catching my interest with that. She says that she loves to talk, and I remember looking at her interview and thinking, wow, this is the longest page yet because it was longer than Alyssa and Amira's. But actually, like theirs were just kind of shorter than everybody else. Brittany actually turned out to be fairly average length. But at first, I was like, she might be really chatty, like last year's Brittany. I loved Brittany last year. I don't want to. I don't want that to sound like I'm throwing shade to her or anything. Loved Brittany last year. And she mentioned that she is a super fan. So the thing with Brittany is she seems a little unpredictable. Like her strategy seems unpredictable, and unpredictability is good. You know, I don't want to know
She
what's
is
going to happen
definitely
at all
unpredictable.
times. That's why I hated BB24. Like I knew on day 2 who the final 7 people were going to be. Who cared that season? Nobody. So yes, while I appreciate that she might have an unpredictable strategy, I don't know if she strikes me as much of a comp beast. I don't know. Just
Well, she did win
like she
two
doesn't look
vetoes on
like a
her
very
own.
physical person. She looks like kind of a
One with
kind of a
Michael.
geeky, bookwormy type of lady. But I mean, I don't know. She seems nice. And you know what? I will say she might have a chance in mental comps, depending on what they do. So, you know, I don't see her being much of a physical threat, and I don't know if that would make her just an easy target early on. But we'll see. Uh, Next up,
Okay. So, first of all, game night 06, to answer your question, does hypnosis even work? I mean, hypnotherapy is a real job, and for what it's worth, Brittany did do a little bit of, I mean, not like you are getting sleepy. It's not like that. It's more, it's more, it's therapy. It's a kind of therapy with like elements of hypnosis, but it's just like I have heard of people that go to hypnotists to like stop smoking or drinking, stuff like that. So I don't know about hypnosis itself, but hypnotherapy I think is actually probably pretty legit. Now, as far as my thoughts on Brittany, I was right that she was unpredictable, and I was right that her strength would be in more mental competitions. Because the two vetoes she won on her own uh, were strategy, like basically kind of like a game of poker, and also a puzzle. And I say she won two with Michael, but one of them was really a technicality. They were still doing festy besties, and Michael won the veto, and Brittany was his festy bestie, so she got a veto. I don't really count that as a win. Like the first one they got together, they were actually working together, so that I do count as a joint win between the two of them. So yeah, Brittany was interesting last year. She made some people angry by the end, but a lot of people still call her like one of the worst people from last season. But calm down. With who we got last season, she's still in the top four safely. Okay, back to the video, and I believe next up is the man I would later call Smelvis.
Daniel.
Yep.
Now, first of all, I believe he's from Vegas. I remember reading there was someone who was an Elvis impersonator, and I'm pretty sure it's him. I mean, I can't see it being anybody else. And by his own admission, he admits that by his own admission, he admits that was a really stupid thing of me to say. By his own admission, he might be perceived as loud and obnoxious, and you know
You think?
that's not great. But what I did like is that he said
I
that he
like
doesn't like
something.
extremely macho men. Now that caught my eye. Like he might go for like the alpha dudes. And he says that he'll vote whatever's best for him strategically, whether it's with the House or not, which I also really appreciated. So there doesn't seem to be a lot of hype around this guy. I'm cautiously optimistic. You know, I think I don't know. I think this guy might turn out to be okay. As far as I know, I haven't seen any
Oh,
really problematic stuff dug up about him. Like I've barely seen anyone
oh.
talk about him, to be honest. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. But as far as targeting macho men, that sounds good. But remember, Frenchie said that he doesn't like meatheads. Like I want to get all the meatheads out. Just get them all out of here. And while Frenchie certainly gave us excitement and chaos that first week, he did not give a good game, and he was the next one out the door. So
And Smelvis also ended up winning the first HOH, just
just
like Frenchie did.
if you're gonna go up against the meatheads, if you want to target the macho guys, don't make deals with them. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay?
All right. So I went from cautiously optimistic about him to being completely repulsed by his existence pretty much by the end of week one. He was the first HOH, and like talk about going for macho men. Okay, so his two nominees, his initial nominees were the nerdy gay guy, who actually did turn out to be a comp beast, and the older black guy. Real groundbreaking stuff right there. Michael and Terrence. That's who we went for right off the bat. And yes, Michael did end up being. I mean, I don't even with the fact that Michael won 9 competitions, I still don't really think macho is the right term for him. He's just like he was just very adept at everything. And Smellis went for him because he figured out Michael was a super fan, and it's like you should have wanted to work with him for that. But instead, he targeted him for it, and it blew up in his face. And then, of course, when Michael won that veto, his replacement nominee was Taylor for very a-hole reasons. And yeah, just also as far as seeing not any problematic stuff about him, in between that stream and the premiere of the show, which was about a day, I had heard some accusations of him being inappropriate with certain young ladies. So, yeah, I was very wrong about him. And
All right. Next up, we have Indy. Now, in her interview, she said she doesn't really care how she's perceived because she knows who she is. And, good on you for that. She's straightforward, knows what she wants. Okay. And she would just go with the House on votes. Now, if I'm being totally honest, none of those answers really sounded good to me. Like those sounded like all wrong answers to me. I mean, that's good on you not caring about how others perceive you, like in life. But in the Big Brother house, where you
it's a
need at
social
least
game.
5 jury members to vote for you to win, I don't know if that's too great. I mean, I'm not saying she has to be a total suck up to everybody, but you know, as long as she doesn't come off too standoffish either. Like she doesn't care how she's perceived, but perception is everything in the Big Brother house if you want to win. You need to show people that you're strategic and you deserve it and all that. Also, I seem to see something that indicated she only watched last season. At least I think that was her. I'm pretty sure it was. And you
I don't
know,
know
it's
if that's
like
true or not.
she seems like a recruit, and I'm just not overly
She actually wasn't.
interested. I mean, Derek X was basically a recruit last season, but he turned out pretty well, so it's not impossible. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling her. I'm not feeling Indy. Sorry.
I was right in
Again,
that
I
too.
could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not impressed right now, but 24 hours time, 36 hours time, probably more likely. Once they've had more time to integrate in the house, who knows? These are just my opinions right now. These are my first impressions. Well, not first, like first through 10th, probably, because I've done as much digging as I can.
Okay, so I was just kind of whatever about Indy, and she did end up being kind of whatever as a house guest. Like she started okay, but then she started drinking the Taylor haterade, and I just kind of lost interest at that point. But I mean, she apologized for it after, so I don't. I'm at peace with Indy now. I mean, I don't really pay attention to her anymore, but at least she's not still being miserable and angry all over social media.
But yeah, that's how I feel about Indy so far. I'm just kind of not feeling her. Uh, Boy, it sounds like I'm not really feeling anyone so far, other than Daniel, I guess. That
Oh
I hope that
God.
doesn't uh, sound too questionable to anybody. That the only one I'm interested in so far is the guy. I mean, look, I
I
intend to
hate
do
him more
a
than
draft
all
with
the
my
women
dad and my
now.
brother. We're each going to pick five. One person's going to be left out. Honestly, I don't see any of these people being my first picks. Anyway, let's just move on. Next up, after Indy is Jasmine, and the advice that she's taking in the Big Brother house is to trust no one. I like to hear that. She doesn't want to work with jocks. I like to hear that. She wants to run the house with an underdog. I like the sound of that. Would vote to help her alliance. Like, it doesn't seem like she'd really vote with or against the house. It's just like whatever her alliance wants. And that I agree with. That's a valid strategy. And, I think she has potential. Of everyone I've gone through so far, Jasmine, I think, is giving me the most positive feelings. But she's got to follow through. If she can follow through with some of the things she said already, I don't know. I think she could be one to watch. I And you know what? I feel it in me. She is going to follow through with that. So, here's hoping she wins some power early on to prove me right or wrong.
Well, she did win power early on and prove me wrong. She was she didn't really contribute much to the game at all. I mean, she won the second HOH, but really Amira controlled it for her. I mean, and on some level, I'm grateful for that because Jasmine was like one of the first to really drink the haterade. I mean, Paloma started it, and then Jasmine really kind of led the charge with her. So Jasmine wanted Taylor out, but Amira took over, and after Pooch nominated himself, Amira was like, "Yeah, let's go for him while we have the chance. We can get Taylor later." And I guess on some level, I do have to thank Amira for that. But yeah, Jasmine just, she was really kind of useless to the house. I mean, it says a lot that as much as I didn't like her, and I did not, I found her incredibly annoying. I still didn't think she was worth taking out for a while. I thought she might have been probably the best option to take out last to before it was just the rest of the leftovers in the house.
Okay, now things get interesting. Because next up, I want to talk about Kyle. Kyle. So this
KK Kyle.
nerdy, geeky looking guy, he says that he thinks he might be perceived as a dumb Ken doll looking guy. Like Barbie's Ken. A Ken doll. This guy, this geek, wears glasses. He thinks he's gonna be Ken? Really? You sure about that?
In
Seriously,
hindsight, I kind
like
of see it.
John Cena right now. You sure about that? He says he's chill and doesn't like conflict. Okay, well, that doesn't sound very interesting for Big Brother. Doesn't like dominant personalities. That sounds a little better, but, it depends on what he perceives as a dominant personality. He admits he makes light of situations and thinks it could rub people the wrong way. I mean, I'm all for
He
trying to keep
definitely
things
did
light, but,
rub people the
time and
wrong
place.
way.
You know, don't crack jokes at a funeral. He says that he would be willing to flip on his alliance later on, but early in the game, not so much. I mean, just honestly, I couldn't really get past the nerd thinking he was a Ken doll.
Okay, so he actually did end up flipping pretty early on, but that was actually kind of a good thing because it led to the formation of the leftovers, which made the season interesting.
That really stuck with me. And I'm like, this guy seems a little delusional. And then people started digging through his social medias, finding out stuff about him, and things started to fall into place a little. That's all I'm going to say on that. Like, some of his social media posts seem to indicate that this guy is possibly a little, let's go with ignorant.
Yes,
Is
I
the
was
best I can
right.
say for him, though. I remember last year when Whitney's TikTok was discovered. She's like at a shooting range. Everyone was like, oh. And I admit, I was one of them. But since the season ended, like, I didn't care for Whitney at all when she was in the house, but like when she got out and I actually got to hear her like explain some things and see some things that she has like posted in the aftermath of BB23, I'm like, oh my god, I was super wrong about her.
Hmm.
And I stand by that. And I don't like that she still gets picked on for no reason by members of her own cast.
Yeah,
You know who I'm talking about.
Derek Frazier. Okay, so I do stand by what I said about Whitney. We were kind of wrong about her, but Kyle, we were right. He really was that ignorant. I'm the kind of person who does like having someone force me to do stuff. I'm capable to do the opposite on purpose to just flip. What did Kyle do? Okay, so Kyle became worried that there was um okay, so the season before there was an alliance called the Cookout, which was the six African American house guests. And they got together right away and they aligned and because there had never been a black Big Brother winner before. So they got together and they wanted to ensure the first black Big Brother winner. And not only did they make that happen, they were the final six people. There were six people in the cookout, and they were the final six. So Kyle became worried that there was a cookout 2.0, which was more than just the black people in the house, but all the people of color. So he thought it was Taylor, Monty, Jasmine, and Terrence, who were all black. Joseph, who was Middle Eastern, and Indy, who was Brazilian, like literally an immigrant from Brazil. And yeah, that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Seems like racism with extra steps. I mean, it's just kind of racism.
The one with the big mouth. What am I doing? I'll just say it. Derek F. Yeah, that loser.
Oh, okay. I did call him out. Okay, good.
But anyway, enough about that. Back to Kyle. I don't know. He doesn't fill me with good vibes. I think this guy might be someone very unlikable, someone who might just, I don't know. I think this
He's
guy could be
coming
trouble.
off.
And I think maybe
Okay,
they
a little
wanted him on
bit.
the show and they just revealed the cast so late so that there was nothing they could do to pull him because they just wanted him on no matter what people dug up about him. Anyway, moving on from him. Next we have Marvin. And Marvin says that he thinks he could be perceived as a physical threat, and his shirtless pictures have already made the rounds. I'm pretty sure he's a bodybuilder of some sort. He's at least he works out a lot. That's for sure. Uh, he says he wants to work with smart players, and Like the sound of that.
None of this matters.
And he says he would want to
He
flip the
never made
game
it on.
however he sees fit to benefit him, regardless of whether it's good for his alliance. Now, there's a right and wrong way to do that, but if he does it right, then, he could be a contender. He definitely has cutthroat potential, but he needs to make sure that he doesn't get targeted too early, because he
You
is
get
very
targeted by the
physically
producers.
fit. Also, apparently, he is on or was on this current season of America's Got Talent.
There we go.
Yeah, how about that? This guy's just getting on any show that'll take him. Apparently, I thought America's Got Talent was live. I don't watch that show, but isn't it? I don't know.
Okay, so the thing with Marvin was because he was on America's Got Talent, he got pulled from the Big Brother cast. So just talking about him right now, that's why I'm laughing so hard because like I could predict whatever I want about him. I will say he did make it on to Big Brother in I think in Africa because he was also like him and Indy were kind of like there was like some chatter going around like Indy's originally from Brazil. Marvin was originally from Nigeria. I think he was on Big Brother Nigeria, possibly. I don't know. It was in Africa. That's all I know. And apparently he was a questionable player there. So, but I mean, I didn't watch it, so I don't know. Sometimes people don't agree on who is and isn't a good player. All I know is Marvin never made it into the Big Brother 24. So, yeah, it's just amazing to me that they waited so long to drop the cast because the year before they had to pull someone at the last second because she tested positive for COVID. So I think they were trying to not have to do that again this year, like reveal the cast. They did reveal the cast like a little earlier for BB23, and then like 2 or 3 days before they had to pull Christy and replace her with Claire, and thank God they did. Um, but yeah, I think that's what they were trying to avoid for BB24 by releasing the cast the day before it premiered, and they uh they still they still had to replace someone. But again, I'm glad because I did like the replacement.
I don't really have a lot to say about Marvin. Just
That's
he seems
fine.
like a recruit, honestly, or at least he's just auditioning for every reality show he can find. I, I think the guy just wants to be on TV. If I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The most talked about one of this
Oh
crew,
boy. There we go.
or at least the one most talked about for bad reasons. Matt. I will say in his interview that I was reading through
Or
before I heard
turnover.
everything about him, he said, "Network is your net worth," and I actually did like that quote because in Big Brother that is definitely true. He wants to be perceived as like an artist type of guy and just kind of be a floater. So the time might come for him to grab a life vest.
No,
He
he
says he
was
doesn't like jocks, but
ready to
acknowledges
go.
that they run the game. So he seemed to imply that like he might work with one if he could. At least that was the impression I was getting. And he says that at the end of the day, he's playing for himself in regards to whether he'd flip a vote or not. I mean, when I was reading through that, I'm like, okay, this doesn't sound half bad. And also, I'm from Massachusetts. He's from Massachusetts. Originally South Attleboro, currently New Bedford. And I was thinking, oh, okay, this might be a local guy I can root for because last year the local guy for me was Brent. He's from Rhode Island. And where I am in Massachusetts is not far from Rhode Island, so he was the closest one to me. Like this year, there's actually someone from Massachusetts. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, initially I had a good feeling about him, but that was because he was a local, so I was probably a little biased. But then his sister made herself known on social media. Apparently, he's been abusive to her forever. I'm like, wow, that is a lot. And then people dug up her Twitter history, and apparently she said some very racist and homophobic things. That's like, oh, okay, so you might just be making this up. Like, she even said something where she kind of bragged about telling a rumor that nearly ruined her brother's life. I'm like, okay, so maybe you're just making this up to spite him. But then I heard something about how he used to work for a YouTuber, and he tried to like make up lies about him to get him to ruin his career. And my opinion now is like, this family is not representing my home state very well. Let me tell you something.
Yeah,
Between
it's
the
actually kind
Turner
of accurate.
family and
That
Brent last year,
dysfunction.
can New England catch a break, please? Or maybe not all of New England. Christian was from New England last season as well. Christian was an okay guy, a little bit of a himbo, but he was, there was nothing problematic about him.
People like him both.
But it's like, come on, there are so many good people. Like, most of the good things that happen in this country anymore happen in Massachusetts, or just New England in general, but mostly Massachusetts because we got the biggest population up here of these 6 states that make up New England. And it's like, there are great people here. How about getting someone that better represents this region of the country? Huh? Please?
That's why I want
I
my
will say it's
brother to get
partially
on the
on me
show.
because, like, I saw he's from New Bedford, and I'm like, I kind of just, I kicked it down the road a little just to be like, oh, he's a local. But then I knew in the back of my mind, New Bedford's not a great place. I've been there.
It
It's
isn't.
terrible. There's so many great spots in Massachusetts. Like, Boston's great. The surrounding cities, like Cambridge, Brookline, great cities. But New Bedford is, it's not, it's not our finest. And Matt or Turner, I've seen him referred to as Matt or as Turner because, like, Turner was in quotes. Like, is he going to be Turner or is he going to be Matt? I was trying to do this alphabetically, but it's like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know whether he's Matt or Turner because he places very differently alphabetically, depending. So I really just kind of flipped a coin. Not kind of, I did flip a coin. And it's like, okay, guess I'm going with Matt. So alphabetically, I got to Matt first. So yeah, uh, I don't have a good feeling about this guy. I think he's going to be trouble. I think he might say some not pleasant things. But sadly, I feel like he might be able to connect. I, Matt and Kyle, or Turner and Kyle, whatever you want to call him. I think they're gonna form the unholiest of bromances. That's my biggest fear.
They were pretty close. Okay, so I wanted to let that play out as much as I could because, uh, well, all the stuff with Turner's background, I don't even know what is and what isn't true. It's just kind of all over the place, which is kind of what he was like in the Big Brother house. Because, his first HOH starts off, he's planning to target Taylor, but then the leftovers form, and that includes Taylor. So then he not only nominates Amira and Terrence to save Taylor, but in his speech, he defends Taylor. And I'm like, wow, Turner's actually a pretty stand up guy. And then there was the whole muffin thing with Jasmine. He was trapped as her festy bestie, which was comedy gold. He was so miserable. He was so miserable around her. And yeah, started off okay, but then when the house split, Dire Fest, he just completely threw Joseph under the bus. And from there, I didn't have a great opinion of him. He did, you know, when everything came out about Kyle and his comments, his fears of a Cookout 2.0, Turner did the right thing and put Kyle up, even though he formed a new alliance with Kyle during the split house, Dire Fest. So I mean, you know, did kind of do the right thing there. And then his third HOH, he slayed the dragon that was Michael. Combination of him and Monty doing it. Turner won HOH, Monty won the veto. So yeah, Turner was just messy, right down to the fact that he didn't seem to shower too much. All right, let's get back to it.
Again, sorry that this is watermelon juice. I wasn't thinking when I poured it. All right.
Okay, quick explanation. There was a Big Brother winner that not a lot of people like. He really liked watermelon, and I absentmindedly started drinking watermelon juice before this video. I regret it. I'm sorry. So yeah, that's what that's all about.
Next up, this is the one who's gotten the most positive feedback so far, I think, at least among the male contestants. Michael. And he says that he just wants to enjoy himself, to not rub anyone the wrong way, and that's good because if you look too sweaty, to use one of my gamer terms, because I also stream games on Twitch. Hashtags shameless self plug. But yeah, like going back to Christian from last year, the guy did several backflips and push-ups in a row, and it's like no wonder you got yourself targeted. You are a behemoth,
And Michael did the same thing
and he
by
he
winning
won
nine
so many things
competitions.
early on. It's like, dude, you are
Same with
painting the
Michael.
biggest target on your back. It's like what was he thinking? So So it doesn't seem like Michael's gonna be like that. He's just gonna try and enjoy himself. He thinks he'll be perceived as a nerd, and I looked at him like, oh yeah, you look like a nerd. But hey, I'm a nerd too. I like nerds. Now this I really liked. He said he doesn't want to work with anyone going with the house because they can't be counted on. I've actually never even looked at it that way, but that is an amazing point. Like,
Yeah.
if everyone with you is just like, like we had a good thing, but they're all voting that way, so we're just gonna do this. Like, no, I don't want to be with those kind of people either. So yeah, I'm with him on that. I liked hearing that. And he says that he is more than willing to flip a vote. I like what I hear from Michael. Honestly, he's giving me some Ian, Steve vibes. The nerd winners, and I like it. Like I kind of got that impression at first from Kyle, but then it's like, oh no, no, Kyle, no. Like he may look like a nerd, but mm, I mean, he does look like a nerd, but personality-wise, he's not a nerd because he seems like an idiot. Sassy sip.
Yeah, that's
First
one of
sassy
my
sip of
trademarks.
BB24.
And it went to Kyle,
So
because of course it did.
he's got the potential to be a player like Ian Terry or Steve Moses. And also, he's an attorney, which could mean he could play a little bit of an Xavier game as well, or a Vanessa Russo game, depending on. Well, he says he doesn't want to. He says he wants to kind of lay back, take it easy. So I guess that would be more of an Xavier game than a Vanessa game.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm very, very excited for him. I think this guy is definitely one of the early favorites, and I'm on board with it.
All right, so sound like Cave Johnson from Portal. I've never played Portal, so I'll take your word for it, and I hope that's not too harsh of a burn. But yeah, I was right about a lot of things about Michael. I did have good vibes from him, and I did feel like he could. He's funny. Okay, good. I did feel like he could be pretty good at the game, but he he did not lay low. Okay, I've said this already. He won nine competitions throughout the season, which is why he only ended up coming in sixth place overall. That the shot finally lined up, and they took it. Before that, the week before that he was HOH. Before that, he was the target, but he won the veto. And before that, he was the HOH. And then before that, the leftovers were still pretty tight. And Taylor was HOH, so she didn't want to go for him. But yeah, Michael won four vetoes and an HOH pre-jury. So yeah, dude, you you became you became a target. But he's another one that he did also get in a little bit of trouble regarding the Kyle thing because Michael revealed that information, admittedly, at his most convenient time. He was sitting on it for a couple of weeks. And he did it to, well, he didn't even really do it to protect himself. He'd won the veto, he was already safe. but he did it to protect Brittany and Taylor, his two closest allies. And by extension, I think Monty as well, because I think Monty was going to be. Taylor and Brittany were nominated, but they were pawns. Michael was the real target. They were trying to backdoor him. Turner was trying to backdoor him, but Michael got to play in the veto and won it, so that failed. So I'm pretty sure Monty would have been the replacement nominee, and I'm pretty sure he would have gone home because he would have been a much more enticing target than Taylor or Brittany. I think it would have been Taylor next to him on the block, but I think Monty would have left. But yeah, Michael did get in trouble for that. Some people were not too sure of that timing. As for me, I'm just like, he is an attorney, and listen, I watched Better Call Saul. That was a very Saul Goodman thing to do. It may have been a little dirty when he released it, but that doesn't mean the timing wasn't perfect. So yeah, I to me, my at this point, my top four from last season are Taylor, Joseph, Michael, Brittany in that order. So I think Michael still gets too hard of a time from people who think he was a serious problem. Like, no, he did what he could. It's a cutthroat game. All right, back to
Um,
it.
sorry, just heard someone coming up the stairs. This isn't my house, by the way. I don't sleep in a room this pink.
Yeah,
Um,
I was on vacation.
anyway, where was I? Okay, next up, we have Monty. His strategy, he says he just wants to be himself because he thinks he's got a good personality. And by his own admission, he's pretty muscular. He's pretty strong. Personal trainer, I believe, was his occupation. But he also has an engineering degree. Now that definitely, I like the sound of that. Strong. He's got brains and brawn. I like that definitely. And it says he wouldn't flip a vote because he wouldn't want it to screw up the trust he has with his alliance, which is probably that's a fair reason to not flip a vote. Like if you think your own allies will turn on you for it, yeah, it wouldn't be the best move. So I mean, with him, he seems like a nice guy, honestly, but is he too
Nope.
nice for Big Brother?
No,
That's always the
no.
question, you know?
He was enough of an a-hole, Big Brother.
I mean, nice guys, they've won Big Brother. I'm just talking about Steve, BB17. He was a really nice guy.
Monty wasn't nice. He was
So,
a
you know,
jerk. He's a sexist
we'll
jerk.
see with Monty. I'll tell you this. I don't feel like I'm going to dislike him. I think,
I've just been talking about how much I grew to dislike him. I mean, I hated him like pretty quickly. Week two, he was horrible to deal with. He was just an absolute scumbag. But he was in the leftovers, and like around that time, like he started actually playing intelligently, and he won me over a little bit. But it went away in the end game when his overbearing sexism came back. So, yeah,
I think he'll be a good dude. I think he'll be a good egg, you know?
he was a rotten egg. Rotten egg.
All right, up next, we have Nicole. Another Nicole. So, yes, she thinks she'll be perceived as fierce, but she doesn't really seem to mind that too much because she wants it to carry her through the game, which makes sense, for sure. She doesn't want to work with floaters. She wants to work with people that can actually carry their own weight and contribute.
She was one of the
So,
biggest
there's
floaters.
some Rachel Riley vibes
She
there, for
never
sure.
she never won
I don't know if
anything.
she'll be as open about it. I don't think she'll say floaters grab a life vest, but I think I think that could be interesting. She says also she would vote with her alliance, not necessarily with the House, just with her alliance, but just at first. Then later on, she'd play for herself. Honestly, I think she's going to be one to watch. I actually haven't really seen too much hype about her. Everyone was just like, oh yeah, she's there. No one's really focusing on her too much yet, but
Oh my
I
god, I
like
had good vibes
I
about
like it.
both of them.
I sense good things from her.
Oh,
All right, up next, this is another one where I was like,
okay. So Remember how I said I got a good feeling about Smelvis or whatever his name was, and then he really let me down? Nicole was his best friend in the game. I will say she hasn't been as insufferable post show because she was nice enough to just disappear pretty much. But yeah, she was very toxic and very disrespectful. Mostly to Taylor, but after a while, just sort of in general. I I feel like maybe if she had closely aligned with someone other than Smelvis early on, or at least if she had aligned closely with someone who ended up in the leftovers, I think maybe she could have been tolerable. But that's not how it went down, and she was a pretty terrible player. And thankfully, she only lasted 4 weeks because she could have been safe that week. But what happened was it was still Festy Besties. Smelvis and Kyle had won the veto together. Alyssa and Indy were nominated. Originally they were pawns, but then they're like, you know what? Why don't we just leave it the same and take Alyssa out? Even Kyle was kind of on board with that because he wasn't too sure about Alyssa at that point. But then, from a conversation with Monty, who was HOH, Smelvis got paranoid, and like Monty was saying, mm, just don't use it. But then that made Smelvis paranoid that Monty was working with Taylor, so he used the veto to put up Taylor and her festy bestie Nicole because Smellis was so sure he had the votes to get Taylor out to screw Monty over. And that's not what happened. Nicole left 9-1 because Smellis was an idiot. It was truly one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And it's honestly remarkable how bad they were at the game, Smellis and Nicole. And Nicole was a cop before she was a chef going into the house, but before that she was a cop. And I said this before, I think we need to reopen some of her investigations. I think some innocent people are in jail, or some guilty people are walking free. Either way, it's not good. All right, 20 more minutes left of the video. 1 1/4 speed. That's 15 minutes. No, that's no, that's not 15. You know what? Let's not do the math. Let's just watch it.
I'm not sure whether I should go by first name or nickname alphabetically, but I decided to just go with nickname Pooch because he's got an Italian last name that starts with Pooch. It was like Pucciarelli or something. Now, I was talking about Brent earlier. I took one look at this guy and got Brent vibes. So started on a bad vibe with him. Then I read the interviews, and he says that he's willing to play up the Italian stereotype to be taken less seriously, which, that's actually fairly smart. You don't want them thinking too highly of you, or they might come for you. Sorry. Um, this I liked. He says he doesn't want an alliance member that could blow up. And I mean, look, I I want people in the house that'll blow up, but I wouldn't want to work with them. You know, he would prefer to work with someone level-headed, and that is the strategy. But you have someone who's volatile, and it's just gonna like cause trouble for themselves and everyone close to them. Yeah, you don't want to work with that person. As a viewer, you want to watch that person, but you don't want to work with them. So, I think that was an interesting perspective. He thinks that his outgoing personality will help him in the early part of the game, but hurt him later on because it's like everyone likes him. He'd be an easy jury vote, so maybe we got to get rid of him. So I think he could play it nice until he gets to jury. Then he's got to start winning some stuff, and you know, he might have to step on a couple toes, but don't go crazy with it.
Okay, so maybe that all might have been true, but we'll never know because week 2, Jasmine's HOH, Taylor's her target. Pooch volunteers himself as a nominee because that way We can guarantee we get out Taylor. But then Amira was like, Pooch is just putting himself on a silver platter right now. So why don't we just take him out before he becomes a threat? Would he have become a threat? I don't know. All I'll say is I was right to compare him to Brent because they were both dumb and gross. Pooch was not the worst person in that house, but outside I've heard some things about him that I didn't like. And yeah, he may or may not have a kid that he's just refusing to acknowledge or take care of in any way. So there's that. But yeah, don't volunteer yourself as a pawn ever. No matter how much people don't like the actual target, don't make yourself another option because maybe they'll decide they like you as a target more. And that's exactly what happened to them. And throughout the season, a lot of people, even a few people within the leftovers, suggested sitting on the block themselves, like nominating themselves as a pawn, but still it became known as pooching yourself. Oh, be careful, you don't want to pooch yourself. Yeah, good job, pooch. You made yourself into a verb.
You don't need to win unanimously. Just because it's happened 2 years in a row doesn't mean you have to. You just need 5.
Yeah, but Taylor got 8.
And this part I liked. He said he would flip the vote if it helped him, as well as to make it exciting. Oh, that's what you want to hear from a Big Brother contestant. Too many people are afraid to flip the vote.
And he never got to
Like,
cast a
come
vote
on.
because he volunteered
Do it if
himself.
you think it won't blow up on you
And he
and
won
you
the,
think it'll
the
make things
first
interesting.
twist, and
Like,
he wasn't allowed
that's
to
what you want to
finish
hear.
it. And
I mean, the last
that
person
vote
to.
was canceled anyway.
I mean, actually, now that I think about it, Derek F. kind of did it a little bit last season, although I don't know if he was just like pity votes. But yeah, he was. JC, also BB20, he would throw rogue votes to frame other people. Like, it's been a long time since someone worth rooting for has tried to throw rogue votes. And yeah, it does make the game more exciting, but it's like it always tends to go up in flames to the person you don't want it to happen to. You know? So it's like not really here for that. Oh, I just realized I went out of alphabetical order. I skipped one. Sorry.
Oh, you
Anyway,
probably
I,
should
I
have.
think uh, I
You
think Pooch
probably
could
should
be
have.
pretty interesting. He's got potential. Like a lot of people are looking at him and they're like, "Oh God, no, no." But I'm like, maybe. I think he's got some potential. He's willing to try and make this game more interesting in regards to the votes, and I'm here for that. I think he could be the player that Derek F. thought he was and still thinks he was because that man is delusional.
No,
Big D, big delusional.
they're both failures.
Or Derek F. for Derek Flop. I'll keep talking smack about him. I don't care. I blocked him. He ain't gonna see this. But yeah, um, I gotta go back one because I skipped right over her. Paloma. Uh, she says that she's taking her dad's advice to sit back and listen. I'm like, okay. I mean, you can't do that forever, but at first, might be a good way to not step on any toes. But you gotta listen. You gotta absorb that information that you're getting. She says she doesn't want to work with someone
58906.
manipulative. Again, Big Brother. It's gonna be manipulative.
Who's the most manipulative person?
She feels that she'll do well in comps. We'll see. I guess. I mean, I think she's the
Yeah,
youngest. I
in
believe
one
she's
competition, she was the
only
first one
22,
out.
so she has that going for her. And she says that she would just go with the house in regards to votes. I don't know. I mean, if she's winning comps, then that could be interesting. But other than that, I don't know. She's another one. I'm just kind of like I feel like she just might be a someone who just kind of meanders her way through the game and is just unceremoniously evicted. I don't see Paloma changing the game. I mean, like I'm not saying she seems like
Oh,
someone I won't like. She might be a nice person. I haven't seen anything to
oh,
suggest she isn't. It's just I don't know, just not
oh.
all that intrigued by her.
Okay. That's a pause. So, Paloma was awful. in every conceivable way. She did change the game. She made everyone hate Taylor because she just wouldn't stop talking about how much she hated Taylor. And they're like, oh, yeah, you make some good points as you sound insane and gradually more insane and more and more and more until you quit the game on day 6 or 7 or whatever it was. And oh my God, Paloma is probably one of the biggest casting mistakes they've ever made. Because how did they let someone that crazy through the door? Like, they're supposed to do psych evaluations for these people. Also, apparently Paloma was recruited. Like, how did you believe in her this much that you were willing to pick her over so many people that actually tried out? That you pick her and throw her in this house, let her lose her mind, and nearly ruin someone else's game, and then she just quits. Like, what did they see in Paloma? Like, okay, she doesn't want to be on the show, but let's get her on the show and see what happens. Well, let me tell you something. Nothing good happens. And yet I still picked her for my draft
All
team.
right.
And Pooch.
Okay, this might be the most hyped up player so far.
I
Taylor.
hope so.
Uh, Whereas Paloma took her dad's advice, Taylor's taking her mom's advice to let them think she's stupid. I kind of liked that. That that made me smile. She doesn't want to work with people who are bad at strategy, but she admits that she isn't the most strategic person herself.
Well,
Okay.
she
I mean,
she did her
it's
fair
Big
share.
Brother. I do kind of hope you learn as you go.
She did. She did.
Like,
She
that
got the
almost
hang of
turned me
it.
off, but then I was like, she said she's willing to flip early on. Okay. I like the sound of that. She wants to ensure that the jury votes will be for her, so she might not flip later on.
Well done.
So it seems like her strategy is to really just kind of piggyback off other people's strategies, which is it is a strategy, you know. If she's in the right alliance, I think this could work out in her favor. And if she can win some competitions and prove
Except for the
herself to that
leftovers.
alliance, I think
And
it
for
could work out for her.
those two HOHs.
I mean, if I'm being honest, like what I'm reading strategically, it's not the most interesting. But there's just something about Taylor. You know, I'm getting a good vibe from her. And I think I read something about how she's a super fan. And she's referencing, like, I think she's the one that even
Yeah.
mentioned Danny, season 3, Danny Reyes, and how she
Well,
lost because the
she
jury
was
wasn't
recruited,
sequestered.
but
I believe that was Taylor that mentioned that, and I think that's part of why people are so
maybe she
excited
did.
for her.
I don't know. But
If I'm being honest, she reminds me a little of Hannah from last year. So,
Taylor was a recruitment
Hannah
magnet,
was one of the more
not
popular
a
ones, and
super
I
fan.
think there's something about Taylor. I think she's got something, and I think she's gonna be worth watching. All right, and the last one, the the oldest contestant of the season, is also the last one alphabetically. Terrence. He says that going in, he just wants to be himself because he thinks he's got a good personality. He thinks he'll be
Doesn't.
perceived for his good energy. Okay.
Nope.
Doesn't want to work with someone fickle who won't stick to the plan.
He had no plan ever.
I mean, I see what he means. I'm just saying, like, you can't just because someone isn't winning competitions doesn't mean they aren't being strategic. So I hope that he can at least acknowledge
That's true.
people's behind the scenes game, or at least the people he's working with. Obviously, if he's not working with them, yeah, get him out. But like, I definitely want him to acknowledge his alliance's strengths, even when they're not winning comps. He admits he has an alpha vibe, so you know that's that could go either way. As far as if it's
There's only
worth,
one way it can go. Horribly. And it
if
went
that'd be
horribly.
someone worth rooting for. It's the fact that he's a little older that might kind of calm it down a little. Like if he's an alpha, but he's the oldest one in the house, he might not be perceived as too much of a threat. He says he would flip on his alliance later on to trim the fat, his own words, but early on he would stick with the house to play it safe. So, kind of a mixed bag with him. Like, I always gravitate towards the locals, but uh, that didn't go well for me. And I gravitate towards the nerds, by which I mean Michael. I think Kyle's just kind of a dude bro who thinks he's a nerd, but is really more of a dude bro.
Yeah.
And And then I also root for the old people. Well, the oldest people. I don't want to say the old people. 47 is not old. 47 is middle aged. And I don't know. I got a soft spot for them. I always like to see the older people do well. You know, like I know Cliff from BB21. He was not a very good player. He had some downright stupid moments that season, but I was still kind of rooting for him in
Cliff
some
was a
weird way.
million times better
I
than
want him to do
Terrence.
well just because he was the oldest one, and for that reason, I'm rooting for Terrence. I got a soft spot for him. So yeah,
That soft spot went away.
that's how I feel about everybody. I would say at the moment my top three going into it are Michael, Nicole, and Taylor because I feel like they are all hungry to play this game. Like I think they are all fans.
I mean, two out
I
of
think
three.
they're willing to do what it takes to make things
Two
happen.
out of three.
And I don't know. They seem like they're hungry for it. And I want people who want to play the game, you know? So those are my top three so far Michael, Nicole, Taylor. The three I am least looking forward to are Alyssa, because I don't think she's going to be a very good player. And,
He wasn't.
that's a that's a pretty tame reason to not have a good vibe for somebody, just not thinking they're going to be very good. It's a way better reason than the reasons I don't like Matt Turner, whatever, and Kyle. They give me not good vibes at all. I think they're going to be very problematic. I think I think they're going to align, possibly
Okay.
with Alyssa. Alyssa might even get into a showmance with one of them. And
She got into showmance with Kyle.
a big concern I've seen a lot of people have after the success of the cookout last year is that there's going to be a cookout 2.0. Maybe there will be, maybe there won't be. Personally, I don't think it's a good idea to do that because everyone's going to be suspecting it. But
Oh God.
I feel like if there are any people in this house that would have the most interest in ensuring that there isn't a Cookout 2.0 and would vote for people that they think would be in an alliance that had the same mission and strategy as the Cookouts.
Oh
If
God. Stop
there's
talking
anyone
about
in the
it.
house that would target them for that reason, I think it would be Kyle and Matt Turner, whatever. He's just going to be Matt Turner until I figure out what he wants to be called.
Okay. Okay.
So
I
yeah,
gotta.
I feel like
I gotta pause. I gotta address that. Okay. So I mean, so in that video, I said that there was some chatter online about like Cookout 2.0. Like, would it happen? And like I said, I don't think it could happen again. It just there was a lot more to the strategy of the cookout than just the six African American house guests aligning. But my point was, if there was someone that would suspect that and try to do something about it, it would be Kyle or Turner. And I was right, it was Kyle. Thankfully, he never actually won an HOH, so he could not do anything about that. But dang, Kyle, way to make me be right about how you're going to be a problem. And I said this earlier. He actually was not too bad early on. Even before the leftovers started, I was like, this guy's actually saying some stuff that makes sense. But yeah, he just went awry. Ugh. Oh god, I can't believe we were actually this fandom actually knew there'd be a Cookout 2.0, or like we talked about it. There wasn't one. Let me make that clear. There was not a Cookout 2.0 because most of the people in that house who hated Taylor the most were her fellow African American house guests, and some of them never really got off it. But yeah, it's just sometimes people were talking about it, and then I was right that Kyle would be the one that would think that way. I mean, dang. What can I say? I've come to assume things about people from Utah.
Like, the sooner Matt Turner and Kyle get out of the house, I think it might be for the better.
Turner came in third,
I don't
Kyle
feel like
came in eighth.
Alyssa is going to be like a damaging player.
It wasn't
Honestly, if
great.
all three of them are pre-jury, sounds great to me.
Not one of them. She came in fifth.
I've been at this for an hour now, and I still even haven't finished my watermelon juice. It's not watermelon. That would be too Mickey-ish.
God, I really regretted that that
So,
juice.
what I always used to do last season, after I finished what I had in my notes, what I would
Here
then
we
do
go. Here we go.
is check my timeline and then check the hashtag to see if any more big news has come out. So I'm just gonna check real quick, see if anything big has happened.
Here we go.
Well, Marvin is no longer on the show. Joseph, 24-year-old lawyer from Lake Worth, Florida. A lot of people thought the delay was because
What was I
they
saying?
didn't want there to be someone like what happened with Christy last year. She was announced, and then she tested positive for COVID, and they had to pull her at the last second. I thought that's why they were doing it. That's what I thought. And now, all of a sudden, here we are. It happened anyway. Marvin has been pulled, and now we have Joseph. Wow.
I mean, I'm grateful. I am grateful because I do love
All right.
Joseph.
Well, what else?
Oh God, I'm definitely posting the link to that video in the description when this goes on YouTube. Skip ahead to that part. It's past the hour mark, probably. It's at an hour 2:15 right now. They were going
All
around
right.
like
Well,
the
doesn't
the
seem like
1 hour 1 minute mark,
anything else
and
on my timeline.
then you can
Let's hit up the
just see
hashtag.
my reaction,
I can't believe
just how my face
you got to see
dropped.
my live reaction to a new house guest being added last second. Sorry, Marvin.
Nah, I'm not sorry.
I cannot believe I'm still in shock. Honestly, that's why I'm not talking much. I don't know what to say.
Wow, I really got nothing after that.
All right, I haven't found anything else, but that was big enough. My God. Well, you know what? Maybe Marvin's time on America's Got Talent got in the way, or maybe they found out he was on America's Got Talent and pulled him for that.
Probably that.
I have no idea. Well, this was certainly interesting. I have no thoughts on Joseph. I didn't find any sort of info on him. Just he's 24. He's from Florida. He's a lawyer. Okay, well that will do it for this stream. Big Brother season has started, and it's already a chaotic mess. So maybe this season will be quite juicy.
It was.
I didn't mean to go for a pun there by drinking my juice after I said that, but yeah, I like it. I'm intrigued. Like I said, my top three at the moment: Michael, Nicole, Taylor. Bottom three: Alyssa, Kyle, Matt Turner. He better not be one of those guys that makes me call him like on a first name basis. I mean, a full name basis. Like you can be Matt or you can be Turner, but don't make me call you Matt Turner. Okay, just don't do it
It was eventually
because
just
I'll hate you
Turner.
for that on top of everything else. All right, but that'll do it for this
I
stream.
mean, to be fair,
It says I still have two viewers. Maddie, 1974. If you're still here, thank you for listening. And yeah, that'll do it. I'll see you next time. I don't know when that'll be, but I don't know. I'll aim for Thursday or Friday for sure.
is
But
there
yes,
anything
that
else?
will do it for this stream. I will see you next time. Peace out.
Okay. Now, what I was going to say, to be fair, there are a few people in in the Big Brother fandom that we do call on a first name. I mean, there, I did it again. Same slip up on a full name basis. She's Rachel Riley, and then he's Dan Giesling. To be fair, there have been multiple Rachels and multiple Dans, but like can't really remember any Dans. I still remember a Daniel, but yeah, just well, Dan Giesling and Rachel Riley are BB legends, so you do kind of have to earn a full name basis. Turner was actually a pretty good player in the end, but he's still just Turner. All right, now those are my thoughts on 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 my thoughts from last year. Those are my thoughts this year on my thoughts from last year. And, I got some people right. I was right to have Taylor and Michael in my top three vibe wise. But Nicole, I was very wrong. And I, in hindsight, Turner probably shouldn't have been in my bottom three. But like the preseason buzz around him was not good. It was so messy, and like I just didn't know what to think about him. I I erred on the side of caution and was just like I don't even want to look at this guy. But, like I said, there was a time he won me over. Kyle, like technically speaking, was not a bad player. He did win two vetoes, and he did have some good strategies. But then there was also his Cookout 2.0 stuff. Uh, that was a jolt to the system, I'll tell you. I am just another Cookout. I literally said the words Cookout 2.0 as Kyle did. I mean, I got it from Big Brother Twitter. Those were not my words. Big Brother Twitter was talking about it. But what can I say? A lot of people kind of saw it coming for Kyle. Now, I do have a couple notes on what I've seen about BB25. Now, we haven't gotten too much yet, but we did get a clip, and we have gotten some pictures, and Julie has explained some stuff. Now, the first pictures we saw, we had like a rustic kind of cabin in the woods theme. Like they had these big fake windows that made it look like there was a forest outside, and it looked pretty nice. But as it turns out, that was a decoy. They literally designed a decoy because then we get our first glimpse of people inside the house. First was just a quick clip of Brittany Haynes from season 12 and 14. Yeah, 12 and 14. And Danny Reyes from season 3 and season 7. Yeah, season 7 was the first All Star season. And Frankie Grande from BB16 and My Nightmares. I did not watch BB16, but I had seen enough clips of him to know that he was probably one of the most annoying people who ever lived. So they break in, and it's like, oh yay, Brittany, oh yay, Danny, and then Frankie. It's like, oh come on, really? Why? Why do they still acknowledge this guy? Anyway, they break into the house. Like Brittany, like Jimmy's the door open with a crowbar. She's like, oh my god, we're in. And Danny's in like, oh yay, Frankie, get the time laser. And they talk about how they're trying to change their past because all three of them lost the game. And in Danny and Brittany's cases, we all kind of feel bad about this. Frankie, people are glad he didn't win. So they wheel in this time laser to change their fate. It's like some kind of time machine, but it backfires and it changes the design of the house. and like some of it does kind of have that forest theme still, but then there's like a zombie looking room. There's a comic book theme going on in some of the walls. There's one room where the stuff is like upside down, and then they flee from the house. Of course, Frankie Grande goes, "Ladies first," and then he leaves first because, of course, he did. By the way, if you're watching this later and you don't know who Frankie Grande is, because I have one fan, one regular viewer that might, Frankie Grande is the brother of Ariana Grande, and he was on the show right around the time Ariana became a superstar. And the reason he was on the show was pretty obvious. But yeah, anyway, they flee the house, and the whole thing just kind of like there was a lot of like multiverse chatter going around because hey, the Marvel movies have been doing it for years, and then Everything Everywhere All at Once just won Best Picture, so like they elevated it to Oscar-worthy status because it's illegal for superhero movies to be considered uh, real movies. I don't know, or whatever Scorsese said. I don't know. Anyway, point is, there seems to be some kind of multiverse thing going on, and in an interview, Julie talked about how they broke in to change their fate, and it backfired, and the house guests are going to have to deal with the consequences of what they did. So that is our first twist. Still not exactly sure how it's going to go, but I always kind of react the same way when I hear about a twist. I'm just like, please don't let it screw over someone I love, and it usually does. Like last year, Dire Fest screwed Joseph over. The year before that, the I don't remember what it was called, but it was like the that roulette wheel thing that screwed Derek X. And yeah, I always get a little worried about these kinds of things. Don't even get me started on the hacker stuff from BB20. That just basically guaranteed the game was going to go in level six's favor, no matter what happened. So yeah, just based on the past, I kind of clench up a little when I hear this kind of twist. I mean, I did clench up when I heard about Festy Besties. I thought it was going to be like game ending. And like, if the leftovers hadn't formed, that twist would have completely ruined just about any enjoyment the game could have given. So, thank God for the leftovers for flipping the game on its head. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be bad. But here's the thing I'm a little concerned about. Um, there were three people that went in. So that's three people with three different games. Or you could say five different games because Danny and Brittany have both played twice. So this could be stuff that, um, like, in some ways connected to their past games. Like, let's not overcomplicate it. Let's just say it's one for each of the three, and it has to affect the house guests. There are 16 house guests, so it can affect like each one of them can have five people um, have to undergo something based on what either Danny, Brittany, or Frankie endured on their games. But that leaves one person left out. And that brings me to the twist I fear the most the night one eviction, which I think is incredibly unfair. You know, screwed over David so much, they brought him back for BB22 mostly out of sympathy. Like, come on, let's give this guy a chance on this All Star season. And we realized, oh, wow, he's actually just really bad at this. And there's also Cameron and Jody, and to a lesser extent Glenn, but nobody wants to see him again because he is a scumbag. But yeah, just I hope it's not a night one eviction. I would be okay if maybe the one person left out is the HOH. Like they do the HOH first, and then the other 15 people have to go through this kind of thing. And maybe in some way they can like win immunity for themselves, maybe. And then like that group would be excluded. Like let's say the five people undergoing something Britney themed. Let's say they win, and let's and like they win, and the HOH can't nominate any of them. Like that, I think that'd be okay. I'd be okay with that. Does reduce the HOH's options a little, but that's always a risk. I do keep an open mind when it comes to Big Brother Twists. I have my lines, and like night one evictions, I do not like. Um, Battle of the Block, I don't hate in theory, but just the way it goes, it's gonna inspire the really powerful people to just break the game in their favor, so that like nothing can go wrong for them. Like I said, I didn't watch BB16, Frankie Grande's season, but they had Battle of the Block, and they also had on BB17, and just the clips I've seen of BB16, how they're talking about like basically how they hacked the game in regards to Battle of the Block. Just the only clips I ever see from that season, it's like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter what people outside the big alliance do. It doesn't matter what Victoria does. It doesn't matter what Donnie does. It doesn't matter what Zach does. Like you're sensing a theme here. Nothing matters. Nothing on BB16 sounds like it ever matters. So yeah, that's why I don't really want to watch it. And that's why I don't think Battle of the Block is a good idea. Because that's the way that's just the way it goes. That's how people break the game with like they just always broke it in that way. So yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. And like I said, the hacker thing, BB20, never bring that back. Camp Comeback, BB21, like under no circumstances should they bring that back. That was that was just so problematic with the way it ended up going. Like it ended up with the three darkest skinned people in the house all leaving for good at the same time. And it was just not a good look for the show. Just heard a siren. Yeah, that's all the notes I got on my phone. I'm gonna check online to see if there's anything. It's been kind of a slow day in terms of updates. So hold on, give me a second. I got a couple emails. But yeah, I haven't really seen anything new so far today because God knows I've been checking. You know, once they start announcing stuff, then I'm checking constantly. Like I'll be in the middle of watching a show or a YouTube video, and I was like, "Oh, it's been 10 minutes. That's plenty of time to do something new, Big Brother." So I check, and so far nothing's happened yet. But let's go. Sorry. Really? Sorry. It's just that was a big flashing X on top of the Twitter building. It's the most annoying thing. You're gonna get people seizures, Elon. They're gonna sue you for that. I hope someone shoots that sign just to make it stop blinking. Okay. It's nothing on my timeline. Big Brother related. Let's check the hashtag. See if there's anything. It's okay if there's not anything because I've already been at this for an hour and a half. Oh, okay. Julie says the 16 house guests are unlike your typical house guests. Um, does this mean people whose social media histories you've checked and haven't found anything icky? That'd be nice. Yeah, not really seeing anything. All right. So yeah, that's my first. That's my first video of the BB25 era. Season hasn't started yet, but we're in the BB25 era for sure. The preseason is part of the era, in my opinion. I will be back with another video when this cast is revealed. I will, as soon as they drop, I'm gonna just start getting right to work, getting my notes together. I'll do a video as soon as I can. I'm gonna do my draft once again with my dad and my brother. Uh, by the way, the way we do that with the three of us, we each take five, and then we leave one out. And last year it was Turner that got left out. Luckily, my dad didn't have the same vibes about Kyle as me and my brother did. I didn't have the same vibes about Alyssa as I did. My dad took both of them. My squad last year was Taylor, Michael, Monty, Paloma, and Pooch. Yeah, yeah. First two out the door were mine, but then I won, so it all works out. And because I won, I get first pick this year. I had second pick last year. Okay, so that's gonna do it for me. Um, thank you to anyone. What it says I still have one viewer, so thank you for watching. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, thank you. I appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Peace out.